What's up, Buffalo Bill fans? I haven't done a video in about a week or so. Wanted to wait till the staff got complete. Super Bowl is all set up, so here we go. The staff, I think they finished assembling it a few days ago with the addition of offensive line coach, and they have pretty much, I think about 17 to 18 coaches on staff now. They pretty much didn't retain anyone. They wiped the slate clean and just went completely fresh across the board. And I think when you've had just the mediocrity you've had over the last, you could say 13 years, but we'll just talk about the past 3 years with the Gailey regime. It definitely is a fresh start and a welcome change. Um, I was going to talk about a few things here. There was one thing that really struck me yesterday watching the games and just kind of the way it's gone over the last, you know, for a long time. For a long time. And not just this week, but it really struck me yesterday. It struck me on a couple of notes. Um, and it kind of this point will tie in with this one I'm going to make. Everybody was really kind of pushing, whether it be Bills media, people who cover the Bills, or even some Bills fans, even me, for an example, for the Bills to keep the offensive line coach, Joe D'Alessandro. They really it felt like he'd done some good things. He really made the unit better as a whole, and they didn't retain him. They hired Pat Morris. He's been in the NFL before, most notably, I think, with the Vikings, and they've done some good things behind those offensive lines with Hutchison and McKinney, Burke when he was there, and that kind of that move really made me start to think how Buffalo has been so out physicaled in short yardage situations, and when it came time to play that war of attrition game late in games, and they've just been really up against it, and have just really shown they don't have a stomach for the physical play, and they just kind of have a lot of wilt and give up in them, and it always starts from the top, whether it's the coach right on down to the position coaches to the just the whole finesse style that they had and have sort of had for quite a while now. They really just never match up quite to the physicality of the other teams, and it's there's a lot of evenness in this league. There's the Each team has their top 7 to 8, and then after that, it's all a lot of evenness. So I think you're always measured as a football team by your quarterback, your head coach, and then your big playmakers on offense, and then your hopefully your 2 to 3 impact players on defense. Those are what make or break a football team, in my opinion. There's depth does play into it, but I always think that there is a lot of evenness throughout the 53 man. But once you get to those top 7 to 8, that's what really defines you as a football team, and more specifically the quarterback position, obviously, where Buffalo has been woefully up against it. And watching the games yesterday and seeing how a New England team, who pretty much did what they wanted against the Bills offensively, the Bills did score some points on them defensively. Their offense was able to move the football. Some turnovers killed them, and obviously the Bills defense just getting manhandled. And then obviously the 49er game earlier, where the Bills played them back-to-back weeks, and Buffalo was just manhandled in that game as well. It really struck a chord with me, and it just let me kind of scale back and really know where the Bills where they stood on the totem pole of the Gailey regime, when it wasn't high at all. Bottom fourth of the league. And it comes with that mentality, that aggressive, physical mentality. The mentality of a team wanting to be aggressive, wanting to get in there and mix it up and bang bodies with the other team late in games, late in November, December when it's cold and it's frigid and and you see with the Bills there was just that Miami game. They just were going through the motions. The Seattle game, going through the motions. Even early, like the aforementioned games against San Fran, Arizona, it's much Arizona, the Patriots, the first one in Buffalo. They were just it was just a lot of quit in them. Once the going got tough, they just kind of wilted, and they couldn't play their little finesse game that they were, trying to establish. Dink and dunk their way downfield, afraid to take shots, and when they did take shots, they were just woefully underthrown or overthrown. So, with that being said, I think there's a lot of things with the Bills I hope to change, and I think everything I've read about Marone in this regard has been very, very positive, bringing a physicality, an accountability, a toughness to the team. That is important. I want to see a different style of play, a different mentality, and it all comes from the head coach. It all comes from the mentality he brings into the room when he addresses the team, when he puts the team together. It all comes from that. And how I'm gonna segue into what I'm gonna talk about next is that you really have to eliminate. You have to edit out a lot of the faces of failure that have been on the Bills for the last 5 plus years that have just kind of hung around. They've done some okay things, but just never were that. They just haven't been those guys that are just elite. They were good enough to be in Buffalo, but okay other places. And Buffalo obviously needs to add a quarterback, obviously, and I don't think Fitz should be retained. I think he should be released. I think there's a lot of guys on this roster that are just kind of hanging around. Kelsey, McGee, I've mentioned many, many times. Even Brian Scott, for his few big plays that he's made this year, is kind of a guy who's just kind of hung around. Really nice guy, really good face of the organization, but has been part of a lot of bad defenses. Um, Kyle Williams, I go back to my video. I think you could look into trading him. It's been in the middle of a lot of bad defenses that have gotten run on, that have gotten manhandled, have gotten bullied. You know, the one guy that I see that is available for free agency that you keep is Bird. I feel like you keep Bird. If Levitri wants to, go break the bank as an offensive guard, you let him go. I don't feel like you should break the bank for a guard. I remember Buffalo handed out a enormous contract to Derek Dockery. And I know Andy's likable and he's versatile and all this stuff, but he's a little bit undersized, and the team hasn't done too well in third and short situations, down and distance situations where they need to muscle up and get a yard or two or half a yard. They've always seemed to get stuffed in those situations or just come up short. And I don't like that because you have to be able to run it when you need to run it. And we all know this is a passing league now, and they need to address the quarterback position. I'm not going to be shocked if Nassib is eighth pick. I'm not at all. And I know people are going to hem and haw about it, but that doesn't automatically mean it's not going to work. Just kind of like how a lot of Bills fans were just hemming and hawing about Marone bringing in some of the Syracuse coaches, like Donnie Henderson, who's been in the NFL, who was on those Baltimore staffs in the early 2000s, and they had those really, really elite defenses when they were playing that physical style of football. Really, like they did yesterday. They were hammering the Patriots yesterday. They were hammering the Patriots, and when I think it was Mayo who lit up Pitt on a pretty solid helmet to helmet hit. I thought he led, and it wasn't called. And after that, just they went nuts. Every time you saw Welker get the ball, they were trying to hammer him. They were just really laying the lumber yesterday, and you saw which team won the war of attrition just because of the physical play. the 49ers started playing really physical in the second half. You know, the receivers were pushing an awful lot in the first half, and in the second half, they really they really upped the pace and were able to win that game. So I mean, for in order for the Bills to get over the hump, the quarterback play needs to be elevated to somewhere it hasn't been in a long time, and just the overall physicality of the team in the lines and more particularly on defense needs to be put in a different place in order for this team to get where it needs to go. And the faces of failure, like as I like to call them, the Kelseys, the McGees, the Brian Scotts, even the Fred Jacksons of the world need to just be jettisoned, for lack of a better word, and we need to go on to a new era and stop trying to hang on to a mediocre past or hang on to likable guys that we just, we like the idea of, but they're not going to make this team better going forward. In my opinion, they're just not. You know, whether they're locker room guy, I want players. I don't need locker room guys. I need guys who are good players who go out and are a part of the 45-man roster on Sundays and help this team win. That's it. And I hope when I see names, hopefully when I see names like Kelsey get cut or McGee get cut, instead of them being re-signed and identified as leaders and guys that are just indispensable for whatever odd reason, I don't buy that. I don't see that as change. I don't see that as progress. I don't see that as a culture shift. I don't see that as anything positive for the organization, the team, at all. You have to move forward or you're just going to stay the same. Keeping a lot of these guys around, it's the definition of insanity. You keep trying to go back and do the same things with the same people, or different things with the same faces. It just, I just don't think it's conducive to creating change at all. I've rambled on a lot long enough, Bills fans. I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Again, always appreciate the comments, the feedback. The chat room is pretty easy. It's on a thing called Pal Talk. It's free to download. You download the free version, obviously, and everybody can kind of coordinate with me via inbox, via the comment section. Let me know what times are good for you, and I can just open up a private room and then invite you guys in there. You just got to let me know your handles and when you're available, and we can do it once a week, once every 2 weeks, however frequently you want. I figured with the off season coming up, we can just kind of open it up, the room, and shoot the shit for every 2 weeks or so, because there's not really much going on. But once free agency kicks in about a month, we can definitely be a little more frequent with it and just see how it goes. There's no rules or regulations to it. Just have fun with it. So hopefully you guys let me know what's going on, and you're open to the idea, as I see some of you are, and we can hopefully have some fun talking some Bills football and what's going to happen here in the 13th season. Until then, you guys have a good one. Take care, and again, always appreciate it.